Sarvazaus's perspective. 2686. Teran calendar. 27 years before.
Curse whatever armchair general thought that occupying this sans-damned planet was a good fucking idea. Yes, it is relatively distant from the Terran core, easily cut off and isolated, but holding it has been a horrendous meat grinder. The hot suns and harsh aridity, though largely not a problem for us Sahas, have killed more occupation forces than the guerrilla fighters, native flora and fauna combined. We assumed that the local survivors of our initial attacks wouldn't last long in the wilds with their water and calorie-hungry bodies, adapted for very different environments than these, but it's been years of occupying this planet, and those managing to eke out an existence in the bush are still estimated to number in the tens of millions. Then, around a year ago, the Terran military arrived to take back this hell world. If it were up to me, they would be welcome to it. But as I sliver up the slope to the enemy entrenchment that blocks the most easily accessible pass to the Flint Valley for hundreds of kilometers in either direction, I resign myself to the fact that I am just a soldier and mine is not to reason why. My hands held above my head, my palms facing forward, 6 fingers spread skyward, Thor thumbs pointing sideways. I reach the 2 walking tanks that stand sentry at the entrance to the camp that the Terrans had built across the road. The taller one points his firearm at me and shouts, "Halt!" His body language requires no translation. I seize my forward motion. "What you want?" shouts the shorter tank, her words incomprehensible. "I am anamt. I kef Captain Parley. Please take me to your leader," I say, trying really hard not to flub the phrases I learned phonetically, just in case I accidentally say something that causes them to open fire on me. The sentries share a look with each other, though I don't know what information they might be exchanging through those blank, orange helmets. After a few seconds, the woman produces a communicator and speaks into it.
"Captain, we've got one of the snake people here. Says he wants to parley."
A male voice answers,
"Bring to me, Taylor. I send someone to relieve you."
"Yes, sir. Over and out," answers the female sentry, before returning her attention to me.
"All right, you glinted doubler. This will take the captain."
Gesturing with her palm tilted upward and facing her, and pulling it through the air towards her. I choose to interpret the gesture as a beckon and resume my approach. They don't stop me again until I get within a few meters of them, where the short one flips her hand around to show me the palm side. I stop and she gestures briskly from the taller one to me. He walks towards me and performs a very thorough search for hidden weapons, even lifting my tail off the ground to frisk along its underside.
"He's clean,"
announces the man. The woman tilts her head in the direction of the camp and begins walking that way. I glide along beside her, allowing her to guide me. As we move, I see tents with rows of folding beds laid out inside. I see one tent in white with red emblems on it. I see crates labeled in multiple different Terran languages. I see benches and tables with unarmored Terrans eating meals at them. I see a few Terrans idly playing instruments together. Every single Terran stops whatever they're doing to give me a spine-chilling, hard, predatory stare as we pass. We approach a short scaffold tower that was clearly built from materials not found anywhere nearby and erected on site. She leads me to the bottom of a staircase that's about wide enough for one Terran to walk up it. She strides up, taking the steps 2 at a time. I follow, but find it a little awkward to ascend with so little space to undulate my hind body. I eventually figure out that I can use my hands on the balustrades, pulling for a little extra propulsion, and I make it to a wide platform with a table in the middle, orange and red camo netting strung above it, and a tall, bulky, dark-haired Teran man in orange and red armor, with a sword at his hip, stood with his helmet off, facing out towards the sliver of plains visible through the narrow canyon, and the army of hundreds of thousands of GU military personnel camped on it. The man turns to reveal a scarred face, one blue eye, the other covered by a patch, and a calm, close-mouthed smile. "Ah, Lieutenant, you brought our guest," says the man. I infer to be the leader of this force, calmly. "Yes, sir. Captain Burrows, sir," barks the woman. The one-eyed man strides up to me, extending his one-thumbed hand. I hesitate a moment, but then extend mine. He grasps it and gives it a hearty shake up and down, letting me feel the power contained in his dense body. He releases my hand, gestures to one of the Terran seats at the table, and says, "Have a seat, good sir." I sliver over to it and, taking a moment to try and figure out how to accommodate myself onto the thing not designed for my anatomy, curl my tail onto the little platform, presenting my torso to the table and leaving a few meters off my tail trailing on the floor. His bearing almost regal, the man rounds the table and takes the seat opposite me. The woman remains standing and takes position behind him. Unsealing her helmet, she reveals a tan, scarred face, two eyes, almost the same bright green as mine, and a head of hair the same color as my scales, which is so voluminous that, freed from its confines, it manages to nearly double the diameter of her head, despite being contained in a tight bun. The man extends the palms of his hands to me, his fingers to the sides, and says, "Have you brought a translator, sir? I do not suppose you speak our language, do you?" I don't understand him, but from the quizzical nature of his body language and tone, I assume him to be asking me questions. I reach for a pouch and, slowly, withdraw a translator for him. I slide it across the table and, with practiced ease, he takes it, presses it to the side of his skull and activates it, closing his single eye for the moments it takes the shudders to subside. I shall never get used to that," he says, his speech register rendering like that of the high priest of a large oasis temple. He turns his attention to me and says, "A pleasure to make your acquaintance, good sir. My name is Captain Nathan Wellington Burrows, and I am in acting command of this battalion, since the Lieutenant Colonel shuffled off this mortal coil the other month. This is Lieutenant Esme Taylor, my right-hand woman." Gesturing at the scowling green-eyed woman. "Might I ask your name, sir?" "I am Sandcrosser Safoshaus, second in command of the Sahas detachment in the occupation forces," I state. "Charmed," smiles the one-eyed man. "I don't suppose you brought a translator for my subordinate here, did you?" "I apologize, I did not," I say, turning my face down. "Oh well, nothing to be done about it." He shrugs his shoulders. "Now, Safoshaus, why have you come here? I don't hope it was to offer your surrender, was it now?" "It was not. It was to offer you safe passage to withdraw from this position." "Refused. If that's all," he says, making to stand. "Wait, please, hear me out," I beg. The man cocks the brow above his remaining eye and lowers himself back into his chair. "War King Vlix Rofju, in ultimate charge of that army out there, is willing to offer you water, death-world food provisions, an FTL-capable ship, and a guarantee that you will not be fired upon as you go. If you abandon this position, leave the system and return to Terran space peacefully. He won't make this offer again." The man puffs through a humorless smile and answers, "How very gracious of old Vixie. But tell me, why exactly is he so desperate to have us dislodged from this little crag?" I sigh, because this is the easiest way to move a land army through the Nyungchu cliffs to the Flynn Valley. I see, he says, feigning thoughtfulness. And pray tell, why exactly is the War King so keen to move his army into the Flynn Valley? Reluctantly, I answer, because he wishes to retake New Canberra. Ah, I see. Now, do tell me, what exactly does he plan to do about all of the survivors of your occupation and defense forces gathered in that city? Will he give them the same offer he's giving us? No. He gestures to me with both hands and says, and there you have it. We cannot abandon this post because I know that, in doing so, we will all but guarantee a massacre of those behind us. If you refuse this offer, Vlix will bombard this camp and move the army through anyway. You aren't saving anyone by your stubbornness. Burrows gives a mirthless chuckle and shoots back. Oh, if it were that easy, why would he make the offer at all? Reticently, I remain silent. He points his right finger to the 100+ meter cliff to his left, and his left to the 100+ meter cliff to his right, and answers for me. He hasn't already bombarded us to oblivion because he needs this pass open. He doesn't have enough airworthy craft to complete an aerial crossing that wouldn't be torn apart as they landed piecemeal. He doesn't have the time to round these mountains, and he doesn't have the equipment to quickly clear out the hundreds of tons of rock that would almost certainly collapse blocking this pass, if you bombard us. By the point you would clear the rubble, you would be looking at a full army group meeting you on the other side. Old Flixie knows that we're just weeks from your capitulation, and he's desperate to win glory while he still can. Here, the subordinate chimes in.
Tell this fecker that I've got an open churner beside me, with baby crib, and an outpost grave beside my husband, Captain. It's up to them which you want, I got to.
He gives a mirthless chuckle and relays. Lieutenant Taylor wishes to add that she has a chair besides her baby's cot, and a grave besides her husband's, both waiting for her. She is equally ready to go to either. For several long moments, I stare at the mad Death Warders, confounded. I gesture to the flags that fly level with the platform, one of a blue field with a white diagonal cross, one with a white field and a red vertical cross, one of a green and white field emblazoned with a red winged reptilian beast, one with a green field and a golden lyre, and one showing a canine animal on a teal field. The highest flying flag shows not a yellow constellation on an orange field, but instead a circle with 2 forest green quarters and 2 royal blue quarters on a black field. You aren't from this planet. Why are you so willing to die for people you don't know? For people you've never even met? Why not take the offer and go back to Earth? Let this woman be with her baby. The man gives a crooked, somber smile and answers. You want to know a secret? Safazas? I'm certain you won't believe me, but if fate were such that this battalion and that army were on your planet, I would give the same response to whatever messenger they try to send and convince us to save ourselves at the cost of letting your city be massacred. You're right, I don't believe you. We're not even the same species. Why would you care? The man shuts his eye and shakes his head. I don't think you would understand if I explained it. But, to put it in terms you might find easier to grasp, right now, I have the opportunity to trade my life for dozens, maybe hundreds in that city. Esme here never getting the chance to see her baby again allows so many mothers and fathers in that city the chance to raise their own children. It wouldn't matter if they weren't our species. It doesn't matter that they aren't family. It doesn't matter that we've never met them, that most of them will never learn any of our names or faces, or that this sacrifice might only be a brief footnote in the history classes those children eventually take. To us, making that choice is as natural as breathing. I look between the one-eyed man and green-eyed woman for some long moments before I rise from my seat and say, I deeply regret that this will be the last time I see you both. Regardless of Whatever you say about being willing to make the same sacrifice for my people as you are for your own is true. You are two of the most honorable people I have ever had the pleasure to meet. Might I ask the lieutenant if her child is a girl or a boy?" He relays my question, and then they answer. "He is a boy. His name is Victor." I dip my head and close my eyes to the woman as I say, "I truly hope he grows up into a fine man, Lieutenant, and knows his mother died a hero." I raise my head as the captain relays my well wish, just in time to see her face soften from its scowl as she answers,
"He gets to grow up at all. That's enough for me."
"She says it's enough for her that he gets to grow up at all," communicates the captain. I turn to go, but the man says, "Lieutenant Taylor, would you care to arrange a song to see out the Sandcrosser here?" The woman's face lights up with excitement, for all the world as if she has no idea that she's minutes from death, as she asks, "That song?" "Yes, that song," smiles the man. The woman runs to the railing and shouts down to the soldiers beneath,
"Campbell! Fraser! Get your pips!"
A man and a woman scurry off somewhere before she continues.
"Everyone else? I know most of you hackety bastards didn't have the decency to buy Scots, but I assume none of yous have a problem with the words. Ever having term problem been the last you ever hear?"
The two who left return, each with inflated cloth bags, extruding numerous wooden pipes under one arm, and look up to the lieutenant.
"You two, give us Scots for here,"
shouts the woman, a little maniacally. Both of them nod, take the shortest of the upper pipes into their mouth, and begin blowing, bringing both hands to the single lower pipe on their respective devices. The noise that begins from the instruments is a great sonorous drone, but in short order and perfect synchrony, the two begin working their fingers against their respective bottom pipes to produce an intricate high wailing that layers over the top. "I'll walk you out," smiles the captain, gesturing to the stairs. As we descend, the singing starts. The only one I can understand is the one-eyed man walking just ahead of me, and still wearing his translator, which informs me that he's switched speech register. "Scots were here where Wallace bled, Scots when Bruce has often led. Welcome to your gory bed, O to victory. Now's the day and now's the hour, see the front of battle lower, see approach proud Edward's power, chains and slavery." The ranks of Terrans, singing their own dirge, close behind me as I walk through the camp to deliver their death sentence. I almost want them to stop me, to hold me here and keep me from the grisly task I am about to perform, even to kill me to save themselves. I almost want that, but I'm not as noble as them. Not that preventing my return would do more than delay the bombardment by an hour or so anyway. I shake Burroughs' hand one last time at the gates before he detaches the translator and hands it back to me, still singing, his words now nonsense. The pipes blaring and the Terrans singing behind me, I cross back over the battle lines to do my hurried duty. I resolve not to look away. I resolve to listen as those pipes are silenced by the blast of artillery. I resolve to watch as that camp is destroyed, and those cliffs inevitably get struck by stray shells and collapse, burying it in rubble, blocking the pass and making the whole bombardment pointless. I resolve to testify when the Terrans inevitably demand Vlix Rolfju be put on trial for his wanton cruelty in the imminent peace. I resolve never to boast of my part in this shameful war, never to tell my future children that we had any honor in this fight. Maybe never tell them of it at all. I think of that woman's child, who I'm about to doom to grow up as an orphan. I truly hope he's all right.
Powell's perspective. 2714, Teran calendar. 1 year AF.
I see the giant man I thought was a demon when I first met him, sat alone, leant over a table in the canteen, resting his head on his arms. He looks tired, and I almost decide to leave him to get his rest, but then his head tilts upward to look at me.
Hey pal, what's up?
He says, in a language I don't speak. Thankfully his words play again over the nearby speakers, translated into Mazurski Polish for me, on a very slight delay. Could I sit with you? I ask nervously.
Sure,
he says, sitting up and gesturing to the seat opposite him. I sit. I'm sorry I thought you were a demon, and that I ran away, and that I tried to hit you with a stick.
He smiles and shrugs. Ain't unreasonable for you to see something otherworldly and have difficulty trusting it. Running away at the first opportunity is natural and sensible when you think you've been kidnapped by demons. Attacking a demon with a stick is less sensible. Bordering on reckless, even. Recklessness is defo a character flaw, but ain't unforgivable or nothing.
I nod but stay silent.
So, he says, tilting his head. Was there something else?
Yes. I have a question.
Oh, you do? What's your question?
He says, narrowing his eyes mournfully. How did you get so big and so strong? He puffs, looking down at the table for a moment before answering.
That ain't a simple question to answer. My dad was quite tall and very strong. My mum was no slouch either, according to their military records anyway. Woman that ran the orphanage I grew up in had all my nutritional needs worked out to the last gram of fiber. That definitely helped with the height. When I were about your age, I got the shit kicked out of me by some kids from school. Motivated me to pick up a martial art. Found a guan in London, got trained up to my black sash there. The Shifu definitely got my head screwed on right about when is and when ain't an acceptable time to use violence. I think if I had to break it down to one sentence, I'd say a few sprinkles of good luck with a heaping helping of hard work is how I got this strong. Why'd you ask?
A little embarrassed, I answer, I want to be as strong as you one day. Do you think it's possible?
Instead of answering me, he asks, why'd you want to be so strong?
His tone neutral. Well, because then I could, I could stare down a charging spore and kill it, like you did. When people swing sticks at me, I could catch them, laugh and give them a lecture, like you did. When anyone or anything tries to hurt me, I could fight it, the way you fight with your friends in the gym.
He shrugs and asks, why'd you want to do all that?
I frown at him and say, I don't understand the question. Isn't it obvious why we'd want to do all that?
He smiles. Let me try a different question then. Why'd you swing that stick at me?
So he hasn't forgiven me. Because I thought you were a demon, I sulk.
Okay, but you could have run. Why didn't you?
I unfold my arms, thinking for a moment before I answer. Because my mama was with you. I thought you might hurt her.
Good. Now, why did you come into the council room with us and Witold?
Because he's old. Was old, at least, I answer uncertainly.
And him being old meant?
He smiles. He was frail.
And?
He says, rotating his hand at the wrist for me to keep going. And wouldn't be able to protect himself from you if you had been demony.
Good,
beams the giant man, clapping his hands together.
Now, given that you weren't able to hit just me when you swung that stick, would you have been able to do anything against 6 of us if we bared our fangs, grown our horns, sprouted our wings, or whatever it is demons have in your culture, and try to hurt him?
No, I wouldn't.
Alright. So, I ask again, why do you want to be strong?
I think hard about whatever point it is he's trying to make before answering. To protect people?
There we go. That's a good reason. Some people want to be muscly for vanity. Nothing wrong with that. Some people want to get strong for health or just for utility. Good, fair motivations. But then there's some that want to get strong so they can push people around. Some that just like being able to do violence. These are pretty shitty reasons, if I'm honest. Not that they don't work, just that being the kind of guy that only likes to hit the irons because he gets a kick out of throwing his weight around or hurting people makes you kind of a shitty person. I almost turned into one of them. Yeah, sure. I'd have said it was self-defense, but really there was a part of me that was daydreaming about those kids coming at me again and getting to kick the shit out of them, while looking super stylish doing it. Shifu Ning straightened me out. Taught me the lesson I'm passing on to you, now. We may fight, but we do it out of a hatred for violence, not love of it. We may seek strength, but we seek it to be a shield, not a sword. We may even kill, but when we do, it isn't an indulgence. We feel no glee, but nor should we regret it. Because before making that decision, we should know that the harm we're doing is more than offset by the harm we're sparing. Never find yourself in a position of having done something that can't be undone that you regret.
Okay, I frown. So I have a reason. How does that help? He laughs.
A reason is the most important bit. You don't remember me mentioning the hard work? A reason to be strong is what you're going to need to see you through all that. A reason, and a damn compelling one, is what you need for all those moments when you don't feel like carrying on going. Whenever you train, those people I gotta protect has to be what keeps you going. Now, of course, not everyone can be or needs to be as strong as me, so when you're old enough to work out properly, if you start too young, you will pull your bones out of shape. Don't feel bad if you find it ain't for you. Also, remember to look after yourself too. Self-care ain't selfish, it's necessary. Can't help no one if you're keeling over. That's about all I've got for the practical, moral, and philosophical advice. You want a more hands-on, how-to guide to getting strong? You might try talking to Fran. A lot of her strength comes from her genetic condition, but she reckons about half is from her training. She's very minutiae-focused, so she'll have insights I don't. I took a lot of her advice before I even met her, just from her interviews and stuff. Most important thing though, whatever you do in the name of getting strong, never forget why. You want to be strong to protect the people behind you.
I think about that for a while. To protect the people behind me. I like how that sounds.